Hey everyone! Did you know that around 1% of the population is believed to exhibit psychopathic traits? That means if you're in a room with 100 people, one of them could be a psychopath. And spoiler alert, it could be you. I know, fun thought, right? But before you start panicking and Googling symptoms, let's break this down. Psychopathy is not what Hollywood makes it out to be. So today we're going to dive into 7 signs that you might secretly be a psychopath. And no, just because you don't cry during sad movies doesn't automatically make you one. Psychopathy. The word alone probably brings to mind images of villains from movies or the latest true crime series. But here's the thing. Psychopaths aren't all knife-wielding maniacs plotting world domination. In fact, most people with psychopathic traits blend into society quite well. They hold down jobs, maintain relationships, and don't necessarily end up on the FBI's most wanted list. But psychopathy is real, and it's not always as obvious as we think. In fact, some of the signs can be so subtle that they might even apply to you or someone you know. So let's break down the 7 signs that you might have some of these traits without freaking you out too much, of course. The tricky thing about identifying psychopathic traits is that they aren't always what you expect. Many of us have a mental image of what a psychopath looks like, but the reality is far more nuanced. In fact, some signs are so commonplace that you could exhibit a few of them and not even realize it. Now, before we dive in, just remember, having 1 or 2 of these signs doesn't mean you're going to end up on a true crime podcast. But being aware of these traits can help you better understand yourself or recognize red flags in others. Ready? Let's go. Sign number 1. You're highly charismatic, but it's manipulative. Let's start with charm. Psychopaths often have a magnetic charm that draws people in. They know how to be the life of the party, make people feel special, and say all the right things. But here's the catch. This charm is often used as a tool for manipulation. It's not about genuine connection. It's about control. If you ever found yourself charming your way out of situations or using your charisma to get what you want without much concern for how it affects others, you might have just ticked off box number 1. And hey, we all want to be likable, but if it's at the expense of authenticity, it's worth a second look. Sign number 2. You're emotionally cold, but you fake warmth when necessary. Psychopaths are often emotionally detached. It's not that they don't understand emotions, they just don't feel them the way others do. But here's where it gets really tricky. They know how to mimic emotions to fit in. Ever notice someone who always seems to know the right emotional response, but it feels off? It's like they're playing a role. If you ever found yourself faking empathy or emotional reactions to fit in or get through social situations, you might be brushing up against this trait. It's not about being a robot. It's about understanding emotions without fully connecting with them. Sign number 3. You lack guilt even when you know you should feel it. Ever get that nagging feeling of guilt after doing something wrong? Well, psychopaths don't. They might know they've done something that crosses a moral line, but they just don't feel bad about it. If you've ever noticed that guilt isn't something that keeps you up at night, even after a significant mistake, this could be a sign. And no, I'm not talking about not feeling guilty for skipping the gym. I mean, who does? I'm talking about major stuff, like lying to someone close or doing something that negatively impacts others and feeling absolutely nothing about it. If guilt doesn't faze you, this one's for you. Sign number 4. You're impulsive and proud of it. Psychopaths are often driven by impulse. They act first and think later. While the rest of us are weighing the pros and cons of a decision, psychopaths are already halfway through the door. And here's the kicker: they usually don't regret those impulsive decisions. If you find yourself making snap decisions without a second thought, and those decisions frequently lead to chaos or drama, you might want to check yourself here. Impulsiveness in itself isn't always bad. We all love a good spontaneous road trip, but when it starts affecting your life negatively without remorse, it's a red flag. Sign number 5, you don't really fear consequences. Most of us operate with a little healthy fear. Fear of losing a job, fear of ruining a relationship, fear of, going to prison. But psychopaths, not so much. They tend to have a muted response to fear, meaning they're less likely to feel anxious about potential consequences. This can lead to risky behavior because, let's be honest, if you're not afraid of consequences, why not take the gamble? If fear doesn't often cross your mind when making questionable decisions, this might be one of the more subtle signs of psychopathy. Sign number 6, you're a pathological liar. Everyone tells the occasional white lie. Of course I love your new haircut, or no, I didn't finish all the ice cream. But psychopaths take lying to the next level. They lie frequently, effortlessly, and for no apparent reason. It's almost like they lie just to see if they can get away with it. If you find yourself bending the truth more often than not, even when it's unnecessary, this is a trait worth paying attention to. And no, telling your friend you loved that movie when you really hated it doesn't count here. We're talking about lying just for the sake of it. Sign number 7, you have a superficial sense of self. Psychopaths often have a superficial or exaggerated sense of self-worth. They think they're better, smarter, and more deserving than others, and they have no problem letting you know it. Ever been around someone who always seems to talk about themselves or their accomplishments, no matter the conversation? Yeah, that's the vibe we're talking about here. If you catch yourself constantly feeling superior to others or being self-centered in your conversations, this could be a sign. Confidence is one thing. Believing you're superior in every way is another. The most surprising sign? That would be the lack of fear or remorse. It's not something we typically associate with everyday life, but for psychopaths, this trait allows them to navigate situations with a cold, calculated efficiency. This doesn't just mean not fearing consequences like jail time or a breakup. It means going through life without those deep emotional connections that give most of us pause. If this resonates, you may want to take a step back and consider why certain emotions don't impact you as they do others. So there you have it, the 7 signs you might secretly be a psychopath. From charm and manipulation to a lack of fear or guilt, these traits can often fly under the radar, especially if you're not aware of them. But remember, just because you checked off a few of these doesn't mean you're destined for a life of crime or deceit. Psychopathy exists on a spectrum, and self-awareness is the first step in understanding any behavior. Recognizing these traits can help you better understand yourself, or maybe that person who's always trying to one-up you at work. What do you think? Did any of these signs surprise you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear if any of these resonated. And if you're curious about more insights into psychology and mental health, check out my other videos. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content on self-awareness, personal growth, and navigating the complexities of human behavior. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.